This video is about bottom z-index or bottom z-coordinate.
It's sometimes also referred to as bottom z, z-index, bottom z-coordinate. The bottom z is the location or the height where the bottom of a cuboid is placed. It should be at the very bottom of the object where that object meets the ground. This is more important in some task types than others, which you'll learn as you go. In this task type, it's very important, and we also have ground points to help us correctly place the bottom of the cuboid. So we're going to start by turning on dense APC and ground. We press P to turn on APC, which automatically turns on ground if we have ground points in that task type. Then we go in and adjust it to turn the APC and ground all the way to the max. This is now showing us all 61 frames of points. If I click around, I can open one of these cuboids and take a look. I always want to make sure when I'm checking the bottom z coordinate to check both the back and side view of a cuboid. This cuboid's bottom z is pretty correct. It should be actually just slightly lower. So I'm going to adjust that. And I can just adjust that by dragging this down. We want it right where the bottom of the object, the lowest point meets the top of the ground there. So if I had put it at the bottom of the tire here, it would be too high because it would be missing all of these tire points. So we just want to make sure it's not floating above the ground or sinking below ground, but right there where the bottom of the object meets the ground points. I can click around and check out a few other examples. This one looks perfectly correct. It's right at the bottom of the tire, and it seems to be correct if I look at the side view as well. This one as well seems to be perfectly correct. It's right at the lowest point of the object, meeting the top of the ground. This one already looks incorrect to me, since we want to make sure that our cuboid is right at the top of the ground points instead of going below. If I click into side view by pressing V again, I can see here that the cuboid is way too low. It should be right there where the bottom of the object meets the ground points. If I had placed it right here, it would actually be too high because it would be missing the points from this tire. Let's look at some more examples. This one is too high actually. If we look just from the back, it almost looks like it could be correct, which is why we always check both views. Because the back tire is correct, but the front tire is missing points. It needs to be where it's touching the ground. This is another one that is too high. The fact that this is on the little green line shows me that this cuboid's bottom z wasn't adjusted after it was dropped. Because the cuboid drops to the green line, but the green line is just there for help and not always perfect. We want to make sure that we are continuing this down to the bottom of the object where it's touching the ground. Checking from this side, it also looks correct. This one again is too high. Even though it is correctly touching the curb, we want to make sure that we're getting the rest of the object. So since this object dips down a little bit into the edge next to the curb, we want to make sure that we're getting those points. It's okay if it's including a little of the ground over here or over there in order for it to be correct. And it looks correct on both sides. One more here. This one is another one that would look correct from the back view, but we can tell that it's just a little incorrect from the side view. It's actually very close. We just want to make sure that we're at the top of those ground points instead of below them. So something like this is not correct. Even like this, we don't need to go to the back of the ground points for the box. We just want to go to where the object meets the ground points, and then we are correct. So you can easily check the bottom z by turning on the ground points in the tasks that have them and checking manually, looking carefully at always the back and the side view for each object. We can also check exactly the height of the bottom z by checking the bottom coordinate here. So this tells us the bottom of this cuboid is at 69.24. We can check a nearby one to see how far off it is. 68.96, so it's 0.28 difference. But we know that this is correct because we've manually checked it, and we know that this is correct because we've manually checked it. And it's probably a little bit higher because it's up on a driveway, as you can see here in our image. Ooh.